November 3rd, 2024, 11:47 a.m. local time. Northern approaches to the Venezuelan coast.
A Venezuelan Navy Lupo-class frigate detects an unusual radar contact 38 miles northeast.
Slow, deliberate, tracing a methodical pattern through international waters.
The frigate's captain studies the signature. Too large for a fishing vessel. Too persistent for cargo.
He orders a course change. Engines push to 28 knots. His crew moves to observation stations.
What he doesn't know is that the contact already knows he's coming.
Because that slow-moving radar signature isn't a merchant ship at all. It's USS Michael Monsoor, a Zumwalt-class destroyer, conducting signals intelligence collection.
And every move that the Venezuelan frigate just made was tracked before the decision was even complete.
On board the Monsoor, watch officers monitor the frigate's approach with clinical precision.
The ship's AN/SPY-3 dual-band radar has been painting that Venezuelan contact for the past 22 minutes.
Course, speed, radar emissions, even the thermal signature from its diesel exhaust, all logged.
The Monsoor wasn't hiding, it was watching. And in this game, information is the first move.
At 11:52 a.m., the Venezuelan frigate closes to within 19 nautical miles. Still accelerating.
The Monsoor's bridge crew initiates standard protocols. Hail on bridge-to-bridge frequency. English first. Venezuelan naval vessel bearing 047. This is U.S. Navy warship conducting lawful operations.
You are approaching at high speed. State your intentions. Over.
Static. The Venezuelan frigate maintains heading. No response. No course alteration. Buque de guerra venezolano. Identifique sus intenciones.
Still nothing.
But the frigate's fire control radar goes active. Not locked, but scanning.
Inside the Monsoor's Combat Information Center, the electronic warfare officer calls it out immediately.
Captain, contact Sierra 2-3 has activated fire control radar. Low power sweep, no lock.
This is the threshold. Not a threat yet, but unmistakably deliberate targeting behavior.
The Monsoor's commanding officer doesn't escalate. He calibrates.
Weapons hold. Activate countermeasures.
Launch the MQ-8! I want eyes on that deck and a record of every sailor visible!
Within 90 seconds, the ship's MQ-8C Fire Scout unmanned helicopter lifts from the deck.
No pilot on board. Just sensors, cameras, and a data link back to the Monsoor's CIC.
The Fire Scout climbs to 800 feet, then levels off. Its mission isn't combat, it's documentation. At 11:58 a.m., the Fire Scout reaches station, covering 2.4 nautical miles from the Venezuelan frigate.
Its electro-optical and infrared sensors lock on. The feed streams back in real time.
Deck crew visible. 4 personnel near the OTO Malara 127mm gun mount. Helmets on. No weapons manned yet, but positions occupied. This is readiness posturing.
The Fire Scout's operator zooms in tighter. Facial heat signatures captured. Uniforms identified. Every frame time-stamped, geotagged, and encrypted for legal record.
Then the Fire Scout deploys its non-lethal deterrent. A laser rangefinder pulses green across the frigate's bridge.
Not a weapon, but unmistakable. We see you. We're measuring you. We're ready. On the Venezuelan bridge, officers react. One raises binoculars toward the hovering drone.
Another appears to reach for communication equipment. The frigate's radar sweep intensifies briefly, then stops.
At 12:03 p.m., the Venezuelan frigate transmits its first communication.
United States warship, you are operating in proximity to Venezuelan maritime interests.
We are monitoring your activities in accordance with international law.
It's not an accusation. It's not a retreat. It's a careful statement designed for recording.
Venezuelan vessel, we are conducting lawful transit.
Your approach vector and fire control radar activation are being documented as potentially unsafe maneuvers.
Recommend you maintain minimum separation of 5 nautical miles. Over.
The Venezuelan frigate doesn't acknowledge verbally, but its actions speak clearly. Speed drops from 28 knots to 22. Heading shifts 3 degrees to starboard. Not a full retreat, but no longer an intercept course. The gap between vessels begins to stabilize. The Fire Scout continues its orbit. Silent, watching, recording every thermal signature, every movement. By 12:11 p.m., separation distance reaches 6.2 nautical miles and holds steady.
The Venezuelan crew begins standing down from observation posts. Helmets come off.
The Fire Scout completes one final surveillance pass, then banks toward the Monsoor's flight deck.
Mission accomplished. No weapons fired. No international incident. Just calculated pressure.
But to understand why this encounter happened at all, you have to rewind 3 weeks.
October 12th, 2024. U.S. Coast Guard cutters, supported by Navy P-8 Poseidon surveillance aircraft,
intercepted and disabled 3 semi-submersible vessels operating 140 miles north of Venezuela.
The cargo, an estimated 4,200 kilograms of cocaine and synthetic fentanyl precursors.
The interdiction was clean. Boarding team secured evidence. No casualties. Suspects transferred to federal custody.
But Caracas viewed it differently. Venezuelan state media called it maritime aggression.
Foreign ministry statements claimed the U.S. was violating regional sovereignty through unilateral action. It wasn't true. The interdictions occurred in international waters, fully compliant with maritime law.
But facts don't always matter when the goal is political theater.
In the days following the bust, Venezuelan naval activity spiked across the southern Caribbean basin.
Frigate patrols increased frequency. Coastal radar installations began active tracking of U.S. vessels. On October 19th, a Venezuelan Su-30 Mk2 fighter conducted a low pass over USS Billings,
a Freedom-class littoral combat ship transiting 45 miles off the coast.
No weapons released. No radar lock. But the message was clear. We see you operating here.
Then came October 27th. Venezuelan patrol boats shadowed USS Sioux City for 6 hours.
Maintaining visual contact, but never closing beyond 8 nautical miles. This wasn't random harassment. It was deliberate, coordinated demonstration of presence.
Venezuela's military doctrine in the Caribbean revolves around asymmetric deterrence.
They can't match U.S. firepower ship to ship. They know that. But they don't need to win.
Their goal is to complicate decision-making, create friction, force Washington to calculate risk. Every close encounter becomes a data point. Every radar lock, a potential headline. And And in a world where smartphone footage can reach the UN Security Council within hours,
Perception management becomes as important as missile range.
The Monsoor encounter fits perfectly into this strategic framework.
Venezuela sent a modern frigate to demonstrate capability. The U.S. responded with surveillance and documentation.
No escalation, no retreat, just professional, measured response.
If Venezuela had decided to illuminate the drone with fire control radar, it would be documented.
If they'd attempted electronic jamming, the Monsoor systems would capture every frequency.
And if, hypothetically, they'd engaged the drone, it would constitute an attack on U.S. military assets.
The political cost would far outweigh any tactical advantage.
Venezuela understood this calculus. That's why the frigate backed down without formal acknowledgement.
They'd made their point. We're active in these waters. We're monitoring U.S. operations.
And the U.S. made its reply. We see your posturing. We're documenting everything. We're not blinking.
By 12:24 p.m., the Venezuelan frigate had turned onto a southwesterly heading.
Slowly increasing distance from the Monsoor, while maintaining intermittent radar contact.
The Fire Scout was secured on deck. All sensor data uploaded to encrypted servers.
The Monsoor resumed its intelligence collection pattern, moving northwest at 12 knots.
No weapons fired. No international protest filed. Just two navies testing boundaries.
But every radar emission, every course change, every second of thermal imaging footage
Was now part of a permanent intelligence record that analysts would study for patterns.
This is modern naval competition, not battleship exchanges. Information warfare.
The side with better sensors, better documentation, and better restraint wins the strategic narrative.
Venezuela operates 4 Lupo-class frigates, purchased from Italy in the 1980s.
Aging platforms, but still capable of surface surveillance, limited anti-air defense, and electronic warfare.
Their primary sensors include the RAN-10S air search radar and the Selenia RTN-10X fire control system.
Effective range against surface targets, approximately 35 nautical miles in optimal conditions.
But the Monsoor operates on a different technological level. Its SPY-3 radar can track hundreds of targets simultaneously,
while distinguishing between threats and non-threats with near instantaneous processing.
The ship's integrated combat system fuses data from multiple sensors into a single display.
What the Venezuelan frigate saw as a slow-moving contact, the Monsoor crew understood as a complete tactical picture.
They knew the frigate's acceleration rate before its captain finished giving the order.
That's the asymmetry. Not just firepower, information dominance. The Fire Scout's deployment added another layer. Real-time visual confirmation of crew positions.
Weapon readiness status. Even subtle details like whether bridge officers were communicating with Shore Command.
All of it recorded in formats that could be presented to international maritime authorities.
If Venezuela later claimed the Monsoor had maneuvered aggressively, the data would refute it. If they alleged illegal surveillance in territorial waters, GPS logs would prove otherwise.
This is why the U.S. Navy's rules of engagement in the Caribbean emphasize documentation.
Every hail logged. Every radar emission cataloged.
Every course alteration time-stamped.
Because in contested waters, the truth isn't what happened. It's what you can prove.
At 12:45 p.m., the Monsoor transmitted an encrypted flash message to U.S. Southern Command.
Summary of the encounter. Sensor data attached. No further action recommended at this time.
The Venezuelan frigate, now 14 nautical miles distant, continued its patrol pattern along the outer edge.
To Venezuela's claimed exclusive economic zone. Still visible on radar. Still being tracked. The Caribbean remains one of the U.S. Navy's most complex operating environments.
Not because of conventional military threats, but because of overlapping interests,
contested legal interpretations, and the constant presence of non-state actors.
Drug trafficking organizations operate with near-industrial efficiency across these waters.
Venezuelan military elements, sometimes officially, sometimes independently, provide varying levels of cooperation.
And U.S. forces must navigate between enforcement, deterrence, and diplomacy.
Every encounter like the Monsoor incident adds to a larger intelligence mosaic. How quickly do Venezuelan ships respond to U.S. presence? What communication protocols do they use? Which radar frequencies do they prefer? How do their crews react under observation?
All of this data feeds into operational planning for future missions, future interdictions, and future moments when seconds matter and decisions must be made with incomplete information.
The Monsoor returned to its intelligence collection patterns. The Fire Scout was refueled and placed on standby.
By 1:30 p.m., the Venezuelan frigate was no longer visible on visual horizon.
Still tracked electronically, but tactically irrelevant. No shots fired. No escalation. Just professional forces doing professional work.
One destroyer, one frigate, and a clear message delivered through presence rather than provocation.
The Caribbean remains contested, not through combat, but through constant calculation.
And the next time Venezuelan radar picks up a slow-moving contact,
they'll think twice before assuming they know what they're looking at.
So here's the question. Should the U.S. maintain this level of restraint?
Or does every close encounter require a more forceful demonstration of capability?
Drop your take in the comments. I read every single one.
And if you want more real-world naval encounters, where strategy matters more than firepower,
subscribe to Navy Media. Hit that join button to support the channel directly.
You'll get loyalty badges, priority responses, and help us bring more true maritime stories to the surface.
Next time Venezuela wants to test a U.S. destroyer's patience,
They might want to remember that patience is a weapon too.